Welcome, everybody. My name is Rochelle Lewis, and I'm a senior engagement consultant with Civic Mike. We've been working with the county over the last year to help inform and engage residents about their priorities for improving their communities. And tonight, the county's main focus is to provide an understanding of the resulting infrastructure improvement projects that are planned for your community and an opportunity for you to ask questions. And with that, I'll let Danny Mauricio, engineer with Stanislaus County, do a little translation for me.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos y muchas gracias por acompañarnos en esta tarde. Mi nombre es Rochelle Lewis y soy un consultante de participación de la comunidad. Civic Mike está trabajando con el condado sobre las mejoras dentro de las comunidades, en poder hablar con las comunidades y decir lo que está pasando. Y esta noche el enfoque principal del condado es darles un entendimiento de las mejoras que están planeando para su comunidad y darles la oportunidad para hacer preguntas.
Thank you. This meeting will be recorded and shared on civicmike.com/Stanislaus. If you have not visited that site yet, it's civicmic.com/Stanislaus. That's where you can find out all the information shared with the community, sign up for updates, and learn about next steps going forward.
Esta junta será grabada y compartida en el sitio de civicmike.com/Stanislaus. Si no ha visitado el sitio, es civicmic.com/Stanislaus. Ahí podrá encontrar toda la información compartida con la comunidad, suscribirse para recibir actualizaciones y para aprender sobre los pasos siguientes.
This meeting, the recording of this meeting, along with the slides being presented, will be posted on that website tomorrow, so feel free to visit and share with your neighbors.
Esta junta será subida al sitio y lo podrá ver mañana y les podrá informar a sus vecinos.
Just a few ground rules to cover quickly before we jump in. We plan to keep the meeting to 1 hour, including questions. We're going to hold all questions to the end of the presentation. So if you have a question, please make a note of it. We'll hope to answer a lot of your questions in the course of the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, I'll go over how we'll go about calling on people with questions.
El plan es de mantener la junta a 1 hora, incluyendo preguntas. Vamos a esperar hasta terminar la presentación para hacer preguntas. Entonces, si tiene una pregunta, haga una nota. Esperamos poder contestar sus preguntas a través de la presentación. Al fin de la presentación, los guiaré cómo vamos a contestar las preguntas.
To help keep background noise down, we ask that you keep yourself muted when you're not speaking, so everyone can hear what's being presented. If someone goes off mute who is not speaking, we'll put them back on so everyone can hear the information being shared.
Para asegurar de que no haya mucho ruido en el fondo, les pedimos silenciar su micrófono cuando no esté platicando para que todos puedan escuchar lo que se está presentando. Si por alguna razón su micrófono está encendido, silenciaremos su micrófono para que todos puedan escuchar la información que se está compartiendo.
Civic Mike's work is engaging the public, and we, along with the county, are interested in making sure we hear from all residents. And we are committed to ensuring respectful dialogue. So, of course, foul language or personal insults are not acceptable.
El trabajo de Civic Mike es atraer al público para participar, y estamos interesados en ayudar al condado a escuchar las voces de los residentes. Nos comprometemos a garantizar un diálogo respetuoso, entonces maldiciones y insultos personales no son aceptables.
And we've never had to do this before, but in the event there is bad behavior, that person will be moved by the moderator into a private meeting on Zoom to regain their composure and allowed to return, but if the behavior continues, that person will be permanently removed from the meeting.
Nunca hemos tenido que hacer esto, pero en el evento que haya un mal comportamiento, esa persona será removida y puesta en un lugar privado dentro de Zoom. Cuando se calme se le podrá dar la oportunidad que regrese, pero si el mal comportamiento sigue, la persona será removida de la junta.
Of course, this looks like a very friendly group, and we do not expect this to happen, but we say it at the beginning of every meeting so everyone can be assured that this is a respectful forum.
Pero este grupo se mira amigable y no esperamos tener problemas, pero tomamos la precaución en avisarles a todos en cada junta para asegurar de que no haya un foro, para asegurar que haya un foro respetuoso.
Thank you. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Honorable Chance Condit, your supervisor from the 5th District, to open up the meeting, and then we'll explain the rest of the agenda and introduce the next participant. Take it away, Supervisor.
Well, thank you so much, and it's an honor to be with you all this evening. I want to welcome you, and I'm going to keep my comments kind of short and sweet to the point so that we can get to the most important part, which are your questions and concerns. Danny?
Con esto vamos a escuchar el supervisor del Distrito 5, Chance Condit, y él dice que él tiene el honor y el placer de estar presente a esta junta con ustedes, y él va a querer compartir con ustedes unos cuantos puntos y para asegurar de que hay suficiente tiempo para que ustedes hagan sus preguntas.
Well, it's an honor to represent South Modesto as I have over the last 3.5 years. And as we all know, South Modesto has had historic disadvantages that they have been left out of the equation to many instances. They have not been receiving fair resources as other areas in the county. And our fight has been to make sure that the community of South Modesto receives equity and resources.
Tengo el honor de ser el representante del sur de Modesto y he tenido el honor por 3 años y medio. Todos conocemos de que el sur de Modesto no ha recibido la misma cantidad de recursos como otras áreas, pero queremos asegurarnos de que eso no siga adelante.
But with this current investment, we are going to see historic improvements to the area of South Modesto. And we are going to see for the first time in generations, sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and lighting, which will make significant improvements to the quality of life for both the Bret, Harte, and Parklawn communities.
Esperamos de que estas mejoras sean históricas, donde vamos a dar banquetas, alumbramiento público, el drenaje pluvial y otras cosas dentro de la comunidad para asegurarnos de que la comunidad reciba todo lo que todos los demás están recibiendo.
In total, around $24 million will be invested in both the Parklawn and Bret Harte communities. And that is historic. And I don't know that South Modesto has ever received that type of investment ever. And obviously, we could not have done it alone. I want to thank my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors for supporting these measures. I want to thank Senator Maria Alvarado Gil for going out and being our champion in Sacramento and getting $5 million in the state budget. I have more people to thank, Danny, but I'll let you interpret from there.
Primeramente, les quiero decir de que el total de inversión que se le hará a las dos comunidades, Bret Harte y Parklawn, será un total de $24 millones. Les quiero dar gracias a la mesa directiva de supervisores, también a la senadora María Alvarado Gil por darnos $5 millones del dinero estatal.
I want to thank our South Modesto MAC members for all of their involvement and our community members in Parklawn and also CRLA for helping us get signatures that helped us get that $5 million in Sacramento. And I also want to thank Manos Unidos for all their great work that they do in our community. And I want to thank our Public Works Department who are working efficiently on this project. And I also want to thank Debrief for going out and surveying the community. This was a community effort, and the only reason why this is happening is because of our community engagement and because of all of you who are on this Zoom call, that it is possible that we have this $24 million investment in the South Modesto.
Esto fue un esfuerzo de toda la comunidad, nombrando unas, Sur de Modesto MAC, Parklawn United, CRLA, Manos Unidas, Obras Públicas, también Debrief, que ha ido tocando las puertas, ayudando con las encuestas.
So I want to thank each of you for participating tonight, and the future is very bright for South Modesto, and is because of all of your efforts and because of your participation. And we look forward to your questions tonight. And if there's ever anything I can do, please do not hesitate to reach out. But thank you again for joining us.
Gracias a todos por su participación, por estar hoy en este día queriendo aprender más de su comunidad. Y también estoy disponible a recibir preguntas, o si algún momento ocupa algo de mí, por favor, contáctenme. Gracias.
Okay, thank you so much, Supervisor, for sharing all of that really helpful background information about how we got to where we are today.
Muchas gracias, Supervisor, por darnos toda esta información y cómo hemos llegado a este punto.
On to the rest of the agenda. We're going to hear from County Public Works Engineer, Danny Mauricio, who is also our gracious translator this evening, about any additional background you'd like to share, Danny, and then we will turn it over to hear about the specific infrastructure improvement project descriptions and timing from the engineering firm that is working on that piece. And then we'll learn about the research underway to find the best way to finance the maintenance of these community improvement projects once they are built.
Vamos a empezar con más información. Dani nos dará eso, el trabajo con el condado del Departamento de Obras Públicas. Después vamos a recibir más información sobre las mejoras de infraestructura y de dónde estamos. La compañía de ingeniería nos dará esa información. También vamos a hablar cómo se va a dar el financiamiento de los distritos para poder mantener estas mejoras, y será dado por Sara.
And with that, Danny, I turn it over to you for any additional comments you'd like to share.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. As Rochelle said, I would like to share with you some more additional points in regards to the background. Bienvenidos todos y gracias. Esta tarde, como Rochelle nos ha dicho, quiero compartir con ustedes cómo hemos llegado a este punto. Entonces, para empezar, over the last several years, Stanislaus County has been working to address infrastructure needs within unincorporated developed neighborhoods of the county, where the Board of Supervisors have taken several actions to guide infrastructure improvements, prioritizing public health and safety needs. And these priorities look like installation of sewer main lines and potable water system. Sobre los últimos años, el condado de Stanislaus ha trabajado a resolver las necesidades de infraestructura dentro de las vecindades desarrollados no incorporados, como sus comunidades. La mesa directiva de los supervisores del condado de Stanislaus ha tomado varias medidas para guiar las mejoras de infraestructura, dándole prioridad a las necesidades de seguridad y salud pública. Estas prioridades se miran como la instalación de sistemas de alcantarillado y agua potable. Next slide. On May 18th, the Board of Supervisors approved various strategic priorities for the use of $90 million of the $107 million in American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 that was allocated to Stanislaus County. Of this amount, $50 million was assigned to community infrastructure where we looked into urban pockets and county communities. El 18 de mayo de 2021, la mesa directiva de supervisores del condado de Stanislaus aprobó el uso de $90 millones de los 107 millones de dólares de la ley del plan de rescate estadounidense de 2021 que se le dio al condado de Stanislaus. De esta cantidad, 50 millones de dólares fueron asignados para infraestructura comunitaria. On February 15th, the Board of Supervisors approved a public outreach strategy for the expenditure of the $50 million in ARPA infrastructure funds, with the focus on educating the public on criteria utilized in the InterWest reports and receiving community input on prioritization. Some of these criteria that we went over with the communities were the cost of the improvements, the benefit to the public, and also support from the community to maintain these improvements. El 15 de febrero de 2022, la mesa directiva de los supervisores aprobó una estrategia de divulgación pública para el gasto de los $50 millones de dólares, con el enfoque en educando el público de las criterios utilizados en el reporte de InterWest para recibir comentarios de las comunidades en priorización. Los criterios que platicamos con las comunidades fueron el costo de las mejoras, el beneficio al público y también el apoyo de la comunidad para el mantenimiento de las mejoras. Next slide. In September 20, 2022, the board accepted the final recommendations on infrastructure projects to be funded with the county and county islands and county communities. Staff worked with each supervisor to identify specific projects to be funded with the supervisor's district. If you look at the bottom two rows, you will see District 5, where $10 million was allocated to Bret, Harte, and about $6.9 million was allocated to Parklawn. And as we can see, the cost of full improvements for the pocket at the time of July 2022, we see that we do not have sufficient funds to do the whole pocket. El 20 de septiembre del 2022, la mesa directiva aceptó la recomendación en cuáles los proyectos de infraestructura se realizará dentro de las áreas del condado. Obras Públicas trabajó con cada supervisor para identificar ciertos proyectos donde se va a invertir el dinero en el distrito del supervisor. Si se fija en los últimos dos renglones, donde dice Distrito 5, verá que dice Parklawn y Bret Harte. Ahí verá de que $10 millones de dólares fueron asignados para Bret Harte y $6.9 millones de dólares fue asignados para Parklawn. Pero si se fija en el costo para toda la área, no tenemos suficiente dinero y estos números son de julio 2022. I want to bring something up. Also this year, on March 28th, 2023, the Board of Supervisors did also assign another $5.8 million out of the 107. If you recall the slide, there was about, at that time, $90 million of the $107 million were allocated back in 2021. But this year in 2022, we have an additional 5.8 that has gone in, but we have not divided it up by district or per project yet. El marzo 28 de 2023, la mesa directiva de supervisores asignó $5.8 millones de dólares de los $7 millones de dólares que sobraron. No sé si se acuerda que habían asignado en 2021 $90 millones de dólares y había sobrado 7 millones, pero 7 millones en ese entonces. Entonces, ahorita tenemos otros 5.8 millones, pero todavía no hemos asignado a cuál distrito ni a cuál proyecto vamos a, o cómo lo vamos a dividir en cada proyecto o distrito. And with that, I would like to introduce Sophia Landis with Michael Baker. And she would go over the infrastructure improvements and timing. Y con eso les quiero presentar a Sofía Landis de la compañía de Michael Baker, y él hablará de las mejoras y también de dónde estamos en el tiempo.
Thanks, Danny. So the purpose of this project is twofold: to enhance pedestrian safety and to improve the storm drainage systems in the neighborhoods.
El propósito de este proyecto es doble. Es mejorar la seguridad de los peatones y mejorar el sistema de drenaje pluvial en los vecindarios.
In order to improve pedestrian safety, we're proposing to add sidewalks, wheelchair ramps, and add street lighting where necessary. This photo shows an example of the type of wheelchair ramp and sidewalk we're proposing in these two neighborhoods.
Con el fin de mejorar la seguridad de los peatones, estamos proponiendo agregar banquetas, rampas para silla de ruedas y mejorar el alumbramiento público cuando sea necesario. Esta foto muestra el ejemplo del tipo de rampa, silla de ruedas y banquetas que estamos proponiendo en estos vecindarios.
In order to improve the storm drainage system, we're proposing to install curb, gutter, and drainage inlets, which will relieve local flooding and improve mobility for pedestrians and drivers. This photo illustrates some of the local flooding that we've been experiencing in these neighborhoods, and especially after our wet winter last year, ponding and flooding made it very difficult for drivers and especially pedestrians.
Con el fin de mejorar el sistema de drenaje pluvial, proponemos instalar bordillos, canalones y entradas de drenaje, lo que aliviará las inundaciones locales y mejorar la movilidad de los peatones y conductores. Esta foto muestra algunas de las inundaciones locales que el vecindario está pasando por ahorita, especialmente después de este invierno del año pasado. Los encharcamientos y las inundaciones dificultaron las cosas para los conductores y especialmente para los peatones.
This is a cross-section view of the typical proposed improvements to each street in both neighborhoods. Shown in red is the existing roadway, which is approximately 11 feet wide in either direction. We are proposing to widen to approximately 16.5 feet in either direction and add a curb, gutter, and sidewalk. All work will be within the county right-of-way.
Aquí hay una vista transversal de las mejoras típicas propuestas para cada calle. En rojo se muestra la carretera existente, que es de aproximadamente 11 pies en cualquier dirección. Estamos proponiendo ampliar aproximadamente 16.5 pies o 16.5 pies en cualquier dirección y agregar un bordillo, canalón y acera. Todo el trabajo estará dentro del derecho de paso del condado.
So to give more context to the previous slide, shown on the left is the existing street section in Bret, Harte neighborhood. And to the right is an image, it's an example of what we're proposing. And this is from a nearby neighborhood. It's the Shackelford neighborhood nearby in Modesto. The proposed street section is wider, which will allow cars to park parallel to the roadway. And you can see the curb, gutter, and sidewalk, as well as the drainage improvement shown on the right.
Para dar más contexto a lo que vieron antes, aquí pueden ver una carretera dentro del vecindario de Bret Harte, y la imagen en la imagen derecha es un ejemplo de lo que estamos proponiendo. Desde el barrio de Shackelford se puede ver que hemos ampliado las carreteras, hemos agregado banquetas, también este sistema de drenaje pluvial. La sección de calle propuesta es más ancha, lo que permite que los automóviles se estacionen paralelos a la carretera y incluye una banqueta, bordillo y canalones y mejoras de drenaje.
On the slide now is the planned schedule for the improvements. So currently we are undergoing environmental and design phases. The environmental phase is targeting a completion date of September of this year, and the design phase is targeting a completion date of June of next year. We plan to bid the project and award to a contractor around December of 2024, and we anticipate construction to be complete around December of 2026.
Aquí está el cronograma planificado para las mejoras. La fase ambiente está casi terminada. Apuntamos a una fecha de finalización de septiembre de 2023. Actualmente estamos en la fase de diseño que se prevé que dure hasta junio de 2024. Planeamos licitar el proyecto y adjuntarlo a un contratista alrededor de diciembre de 2024. Y se prevé que la construcción se complete en diciembre de 2026.
And that concludes my slides.
Y con eso termina mi información.
Thank you very much, Sophia. We will, again, just a reminder, if you have questions, please hold them to the end, and we'll make sure to call on as many folks as we can. I'd like to introduce Sonia Ortega from NBS, who will speak to the research being done to understand the best financing mechanism to fund the maintenance of these improvements once they're constructed.
Gracias a todos. Gracias a Sofía. Les quiero dar un recordatorio de que guarden sus preguntas hasta el fin. Les quiero presentar a Sonia Ortega y ella nos va a presentar de qué manera podamos mantener estas mejoras. Sonia.
Hi, good afternoon. If you can advance the slide, Rochelle. So as we've discussed, the ARPA funds will build improvements, but funds will be needed to maintain them long-term in your communities. We are currently working with Stanislaus County to develop the cost estimates to determine what those maintenance costs will be. And once we determine these costs, we'll look at available funding options and calculate a rate specific to your parcel.
Los fondos de ARPA, como se ha comunicado, construirán los mejoramientos en su área, pero se necesitarán fondos adicionales para mantener estos mejoramientos. Actualmente estamos trabajando con el condado para desarrollar estimaciones de costo para determinar cuál será el costo del mantenimiento.
So all property owners will have the opportunity to cast a ballot on the charge for this maintenance cost, and we will have ongoing communication as well as future community meetings where we walk you through that process more in detail. If the ballot shows a majority in favor of any additional funding, it's most likely an annual charge that you see on your annual property tax bill that comes from the county. Some of you may pay your property tax in monthly installments with your mortgage payments, and in which case that's where you would see that charge.
Todos los propietarios tendrán la oportunidad de votar sobre el cargo por los costos de mantenimiento y tendremos comunicación continua y más reuniones comunitarias donde lo guiaremos a través de este proceso con más detalle. Si la boleta muestra una mayoría de favor de los fondos adicionales, sería un cargo anual que lo más probable estará en su factura anual de impuestos a la propiedad del condado. O algunos de ustedes tal vez pagan su factura de impuestos sobre la propiedad en cuotas mensuales con sus pagos hipotecarios.
And then as part of our ongoing process, I do want to be clear that although these areas are not currently being annexed, they are being brought up to city standards with some of these improvements. So in the event that the county and city begin annexation process, this would also be presented to you prior to any changes.
Como parte de nuestra comunicación continua, quiero dejar claro que aunque esta área no se ha anexando actualmente, se están llevando a los estándares de la ciudad con algunos de estos mejoramientos. En el caso de que el condado y la ciudad comiencen un proceso de anexión, eso se le presentará antes de cualquier cambio.
That would conclude our portion of the meeting, but we will definitely be back for more information to share as we develop that with the county.
Esto sería lo de mi parte, pero cuando tengamos más información vamos a regresar y compartirlo con el condado.
Thank you very much, Sonia. We are ready to move on to questions. So just to let folks know how we're going to handle questions, we will move between those folks who are online, those who have called in on the phone, and those who are in person at the watch party. And thank you, Jose Farrell, for being in person with some of our Parklawn residents. If you are online, please raise your hand by clicking on the reactions button on the bottom of your screen and clicking raise hand. And that will let us know that you have a question, and I will call on you, but by whatever name is on your screen. Reminder to everyone to please limit yourself to one question so that we can get as many people as possible. And if you have another question, we'll try to get back to you.
Eso concluye nuestra presentación. Vamos a empezar a contestar preguntas. Nos vamos a mover entre las llamadas. Todos los que se conectaron vía el internet y están viendo la presentación, y los que están conectados con José allá con Parklawn. Por favor, si se pueden limitar al principio con una pregunta para asegurar que todos puedan hacer sus preguntas, pero si tiene algunas más, queremos ver si les podemos dar más tiempo al fin.
And I see at least one hand up now so far. So just for those of you who are on the phone, when we get to you, please unmute yourself and speak your name. And you unmute yourself by pressing *6.
Los que están conectados vía la red y están viendo la presentación, abajo pueden ver que hay un botón para reacciones. Si pueden tocar el botón y ver dónde pueden levantar las manos, de esa manera nosotros podemos conocer que usted tiene una pregunta. Todos los que están conectados por teléfono, ahorita estarán en mudo, pero para para poder platicar, si pueden por favor presionar la estrella 6.
Thank you. And then we'll ask you, Jose, if you have any questions from those who are with you there. And finally, we just ask everybody that you please express your own personal views and not the views of others.
José, si tú tienes una pregunta ahí, si lo puedas compartir con nosotros, y también le pedimos que si usted se exprese como usted se siente, no en general todos.
Thank you. Okay, the first hand I see up, the name on the screen is M. Madrigal.
Hi, I'm Maria.
Hi,
live
Maria.
here
Thank
on-
you. Well,
Hi.
welcome.
I live on Dallas Street, so my question is, where, or do you guys have a list, like a breakdown as to where is Dallas Street on the schedule? And yeah, that's really what I want to know, like, where are we at?
I will let Danny speak to that question. Danny?
Yes. Let me translate the question and then get into the answer. Gracias a todos. Mi nombre es María Madrigal. Mi pregunta es, yo vivo en la carretera Dallas y quiero saber a dónde en la lista estamos para recibir los mejoramientos. Right now in this meeting, we are not necessarily talking about locations as to where it's going to be. We will be having another community meeting in which we would like to focus more on each individual pocket. So when we go into Parklawn, we will present what we have in regards to design and the selected streets for Parklawn. Same thing for Bret Harte. We will hold a meeting specifically just for Bret Harte in order for us to really dive into those details.
Okay.
Ahorita en el momento no tenemos planeados en esta presentación para hablar de cada proyecto en detalle. Lo que vamos a hacer es que vamos a tener otras reuniones en el futuro con las comunidades, donde va a ser específicamente para su comunidad y vamos a dar esa información y por si en caso tienen más preguntas. También se lo hará específicamente a la comunidad de Bret Harte.
Thank you. Okay, next I see a hand up from a gentleman and a young woman with the name on the screen. It just says iPhone.
Hola,
Hola.
hola, mi nombre es Carlos Herrera. Yo vivo por la Imperial. Yo quiero preguntar sobre si nosotros que vivimos acá Imperial también se va a tomar los proyectos que tienen para Bret Harte.
Hi, my name is Carlos Herrera. I live on Imperial. I would like to know the improvements that are being planned for the Bret Harte community and if Imperial is included there. Similar a lo que le había contestado a María Madrigal es de que ahorita en el momento en esta presentación no estamos enfocándonos exactamente en cada proyecto en detalle. Va a haber una junta comunitaria donde queremos abrir eso, enseñarles a dónde vamos a estar. Pero ahorita en el momento no estamos en esta junta en bien detalle en cada proyecto. As I had mentioned to the prior question, we're currently not going into full details of each individual pocket as to where we're going to do the improvements. We are trying to have that for our next community meeting where we're going to give you all the details of what's happening in that specific pocket.
Thank you, Danny. I don't see any other hands raised. So Alvaro, did you have a question?
No puedo ver que hayan otras manos levantadas, pero Álvaro, ¿tiene una pregunta?
I think that's a no. I just saw you unmute. That's why.
Lo voy a tomar como no, nomás vi que se había quitado el que está mudo.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Jose Burrell. Jose, are there any questions from any of the folks who you're with?
Vamos a ir con José, vamos a ver si hay unas preguntas con los residentes que están con José.
You guys. Preguntar su pregunta.
Yo quiero saber, como no tengo este drenaje, soy Rodolfo López, ¿qué podemos hacer?
Jose, you're on mute.
Danny, that was Jose talking through his microphone. When he unmutes the one with his picture, that's when we get the feedback. So that was a question from the community there with Jose.
Yeah.
Could you hear it?
Could I repeat the question?
Yo soy Rodolfo López, vivo por la 916 Atlante, no hemos podido meter el drenaje, ¿qué debemos hacer?
Could we hear?
Yes. ¿De qué drenaje está hablando? ¿Está hablando del drenaje pluvial o el del alcantarillado?
El alcantarillado.
Ahorita de lo del alcantarillado va a haber let me translate the question. Voy a interpretar primero la pregunta. Hi, my name is Rodolfo Lopez. I live on Atlantic and I'm trying to connect to sewer. And I'm trying to get more information in regards to that. Ahorita va a haber alguien tal vez de la ciudad de Modesto allí donde se está que le podrá contestar esa pregunta. Pero ahorita estas mejoras no va a incluir la conexión del alcantarillado. Right now, there may be an individual at the Parklawn watch party from the city of Modesto who may have more information for the connection of sewer. With this project, we are not connecting sewer, but the city of Modesto is currently identifying funds to assist the community in connecting to sewer.
Any other questions, Jose, from folks in the room? Jose, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, we're getting 2 questions.
Okay, thank you.
My question is, why did Bret Harte receive more money than Parklawn? And if we're having the 5 million, why wasn't it more a half toward our end than their end?
Mi pregunta es, ¿por qué la comunidad de Bret Harte recibió más fondos que la comunidad de Parklawn? Y si ha recibido otros adicionales $5 millones, ¿cómo se va a dividir eso? Supervisor Condit, would you like to answer the question in regards to how the distribution of funds was determined?
Yeah, Danny, I was actually going to speak up to that. Bret Harte is essentially getting more because they have a bigger geographic footprint. Now, with that being said, we are very close to, I guess, covering more ground in Parklawn because it's obviously a smaller geographic footprint. But Parklawn in total is going to be receiving 6.9 from ARPA, and then it's going to be receiving 2.5 from the additional 5 million. So in total, you're hovering around close to $10 million. And Danny could talk to how much it would take to complete the entire area 24. But it just came down to the fact that Bret Harte was just, it's geographically bigger, and therefore it needed some more of the ARPA funds as opposed to Parklawn.
La comunidad de Bret Harte es más grande que la comunidad de Parklawn y ocupará más dinero para traer todas las mejoras que se ocupan en esa comunidad. Estamos más cercas en cubrir la área de Parklawn con el dinero que hemos recibido, que ahorita es 6.9 millones, y vamos a agregar otros 2.5 millones de los 5 millones de que se había mencionado hoy temprano. Entonces, Bret Harte ocupará más dinero. Y Dani puede hablar más de cuánto el total del costo de las mejoras serán. John, could you do me a favor and go to my 4th slide on ARPA? Thank you. As you can see here in regards to the cost of in full improvements, if you look at District 5, you will see Bret Harte and Parklawn. As of July of 2022, we did an estimate as to what would it cost for us to bring those areas to full improvements, you know, curb, gutter, sidewalks, street lighting and stuff like that. And as you can see, Bret Harte, due to the size of it, also requires additional funds, or requires more funds than Parklawn does. Si se pueden fijar aquí, en el Distrito 5, en el área de Bret Harte y Parklawn, están abajo, pueden ver de que el costo de las mejoras para Bret Harte es más grande que el costo de Parklawn, y por eso es por la área que es más grande en Bret Harte que en Parklawn.
Thank you, Danny. Any other questions from you, Jose? Otherwise, I know we've got a couple here of folks that are online.
Okay, hello. My name is Marta Villaseñor, and I was thinking, we made more than 1,000 signatures for the speed bumps. and we haven't got nothing. We only got 2 speed bumps and that's it. So I was wondering why we didn't get the whole neighborhood of the speed bumps. What's going on? Because we made a lot. We were the number 1.
Yes, no, hey, Martha, this is Chance. I hope you're doing well. So we got the signatures. The 1,000 was for the state budget for the funding for the $5 million, but we got your signatures that were around 300 to 400 for the speed humps. And we are working with our public works department to get permanent speed humps over in the Parklawn community. So that will pretty much coincide with these developments. So there will be permanent speed humps over there in Parklawn as was promised. We are designating those areas, and we want to thank you specifically for going door to door and collecting all those signatures for us. So thank you very much, but those will be happening.
Thank you, Supervisor. Oh, go ahead, Danny.
Thank you. Hola, mi nombre es Marta Villaseñor. Mi pregunta es de que, ¿por qué no hemos recibido topos en nuestra comunidad? Hemos agarrado firmas para poder agregar eso en las carreteras, pero ahorita en el momento solo hemos recibido 2. Entonces, el supervisor contestó de que él está trabajando con obras públicas en asegurarse de que podemos agregar esos topos más permanentes dentro de las comunidades de Parklawn.
Thank you. Any other questions on the ground? Jose?
I believe those are it.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody there. Maria, you've been patiently waiting with your hand up. Thank you.
I just had one question, a second one. Regarding speed bumps. So on Dallas Street between Hatch and Lassen, it's heavily trafficked, you know, with the city bus, the school buses, semis, you name it, people racing through here, not stopping at the Butte, you know, stop sign and blah, blah, blah. Instead of having to go walk the neighborhood and get signatures, is there any way around getting speed bumps, you know, when and if Dallas Street is ready, you know, to be worked on?
Well, Maria, I know that Public Works has a very strict policy in requiring the neighborhood to get a fraction of signatures in order to have them installed. So I don't know that there's a way to go around that process. I know Martha, this is something Martha did in her community, and that's why we're able to get those in Parklawn. But I think that obviously, I think people would want speed humps along Dallas. I don't think you would have any trouble collecting the needed signatures. I don't know the exact amount, but that's something you could work with Russell on so we could begin the process. And I would estimate that it's probably just a few hundred, and then we can start the process of getting speed humps if that's what the community wants on Dallas Street.
Okay. I have a crew. When it's needed, we'll get it done. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Pregunta sobre topos. Tenemos muchos vehículos caminando de la Hatch, la Lassen, y también es una ruta de autobuses, y también hay vehículos que a veces no paran en el stop, sino a veces hay carreras. Entonces, ¿hay alguna manera donde uno no tenga que agarrar firmas para poder instalarlos? Y lo que había respondido el supervisor de que obras públicas tienen una póliza donde ellos ocupan las firmas, y lo que había hecho Marta era, ella caminó a la vecindad a agarrar firmas, pero no dudo de que los residentes de Dallas no firmarán para poder recibir eso. Que si podrá trabajar con Russell en todo eso y ver a dónde quedamos.
Thank you. And unless, Jose, you have any other questions, or if there's anybody on the phone who has been waiting to unmute themselves to ask a question, I don't see any other hands raised.
Yes, someone on the phone just unmuted.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, would you please tell us your name?
Yes, my name is Mireya Magallon and I live on Dallas.
Welcome.
Thank you. My question, and I'm sorry, but I joined very late, so I'm not sure if this has already been asked at the beginning of the presentation. But I noticed in the, and I'm assuming it's probably a different funding or a different project, but over in the, it's off of Yosemite, so I think it's by Santa Cruz, over by the Gallo, over by the park. We noticed that the sidewalks that were just recently installed there were installed where it was half like a rock gravel, kind of like a landscape rock, and then the other section was the sidewalk. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it correctly, but is that something similar to what we will have here?
I can, oh, go ahead. And I imagine Sophia can answer that question.
Yeah, you can translate first if you want, Danny.
Yes. Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Mireya, vivo en la Dallas. He notado de que, y pienso que es otro fondo que está pagando, otros recursos que está pagando el proyecto. Pero hay un proyecto en la área del airport, allá por la Gallo y la Yosemite, donde la banqueta, hay dentro la carretera y la propiedad, hay una banqueta y la otra mitad es piedra. ¿Será eso lo mismo que lo que vamos a recibir con este proyecto?
So John, if you could go to the 5th slide of mine, it'll show that we have a proposed, the next one. Yeah, on the right is shown an example of what we're proposing, which is the curb gutter and sidewalk right adjacent to where the street is, without the gravel strip in between.
Aquí puede ver que en la mano derecha lo que estamos proponiendo es instalar de las mejoras, no va a haber una parte que tenga grava, sino la banqueta va a estar conectada a la carretera.
Okay, thank you. We have a flooding problem, so that was my concern. Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
Victor has a question. He's just raising his hand on the camera.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Victor. I didn't see that. Go ahead.
Sí, mi pregunta es, yo vivo en la calle La Seattle, ¿hay proyectos para hacer banqueta en La Seattle o no?
Hi, my name is Victor. I live on Seattle. I'm wondering if there's going to be any improvements of sidewalks on Seattle. Como se había mencionado con las otras preguntas, ahorita no estamos enfocándonos en cuáles calles vamos a hacer las mejoras, sino queremos darle la actualización de a dónde estamos en el proyecto, así para que cuando vengamos a la comunidad específicamente, por decir la Bret Harte, ahí podemos hablarles más de todos los detalles del proyecto. Por ahorita nomás queremos darle más información a dónde estamos y y qué son los pasos siguientes para nosotros. For right now, as has been mentioned in prior answers, right now we're not focusing on where are the locations of these improvements, but we're going to come back to each community in specific and go into greater details as to the improvements and where they're going in each of the communities. But this meeting, we just like to give you an update as to where we were and where we are now.
Thank you. One more time for Jose, any questions on the ground or anybody on the phone as we're getting to the end of our allotment for our meeting?
Yeah, it looks like there's another. Berenice has.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Berenice.
Una pregunta. Aquí vivimos cerquita de la comunidad de la escuela, Bret Harte de la escuela. Nomás quería saber, si no hay suficiente fondos para este lado de donde van a hacer las banquetas, ¿qué es lo que se va a hacer si en caso que no alcance los fondos que hay ahorita?
I live close to Bret Harte School. It has been mentioned that there isn't sufficient funding to do the whole neighborhood, to do these improvements. So what will be done if there isn't sufficient funds to do the whole neighborhood?
Do we have
It's-
Supervisor Condit
Yes.
with us? Thank you.
Yes, Danny, I'm here. Well, obviously, it's going to take around $70 million estimate to do the entirety of both Parklawn and Bret Harte. We stand at roughly $24 million in total currently, and that is not nearly enough to encompass every neighborhood, every street right now. But that's why the fight doesn't stop with this $24 million. We have to continue to advocate for more resources and more funding to go straight into the South Modesto community. And that's where myself and our community members need to continue to partner and collaborate and work towards more funding. And we will continue doing that. I'm not going to just walk away and be happy with $24 million. I won't be happy until every neighborhood is completely covered with sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and lighting. So if your street or your neighborhood isn't slotted first with this $24 million, I make the promise that we will continue advocating and fighting for equity and resources for our neighborhoods. So we will have to continue, and this is something we will not give up on.
All right. Ahorita para hacer todas las mejoras, el costo total es dentro de 70 millones de dólares. Y ahorita lo único que tenemos son 24 millones de dólares. No es suficiente ahorita, pero la pelea no para. Si no vamos a ver, nosotros vamos a ver cómo podemos atraer más fondos a esta comunidad para asegurarnos de que podamos hacer todo el área, pero vamos a ocupar la ayuda suya, la ayuda de otros miembros para poder seguir atrayendo estos fondos a esta comunidad. No estaré feliz solo con 24 millones de dólares. Yo quiero ver toda la comunidad con banqueta, con drenaje pluvial. Entonces, si ahorita durante este tiempo su carretera no va a recibir las mejoras, vamos a seguir peleando hasta asegurarnos que podamos hacer toda la vecindad.
Thank you. At this time, we are right at our 1 hour time and not seeing any additional questions. Oh, go ahead.
Miguel Donoso asks, when is the next meeting going to be held?
We do not have the date calendared yet, but it will be in the late fall.
La pregunta era de para cuándo será la siguiente junta comunitaria y la respuesta es, ahorita no tenemos una fecha fija, pero estamos esperando que sea lo último del otoño.
And that is a perfect question to end on, because we want to, in addition to thanking you so much for all of your time and attention and your questions, we encourage you to subscribe for updates. As you can see on the screen, if you go to our website, civicmike.com/Stanislaus, you'll see a button that will take you to this page to subscribe for updates so you can stay informed. And if you have additional questions, you can reach out to us by email or phone, and you could advance to the next slide, John, and we'll work to get your questions answered. Danny.
Yes. Es una pregunta perfecta para poder seguir a lo siguiente. Could you go to the prior slide, John? Thank you. Aquí puede ver de que se puede suscribir para recibir actualizaciones tendría que ir al sitio de civicmike.com y suscribir to Stanislaus. Aquí puede también recibir toda la información. Next slide, John. Y si por alguna razón tenga más preguntas, nos puede contactar aquí por visitando la red en civicmike.com /inclinada Stanislaus, o si no por teléfono, correo electrónico o por correo.
We also encourage you to please share the website with your friends and neighbors. It is the best way to stay on top of what's happening and to make sure that you are subscribed to receive updates, to receive the information about the next meeting and any other news that we can share with you.
Le agradecemos si podrá compartir el sitio con sus amigos, con su familia, el vecindario, así para que puedan recibir actualizaciones y también recibir más informaciones para las siguientes juntas que tendremos en el futuro.
And with that, we just thank you very much, Supervisor, and our presenters, and we all, on behalf of all of us, just want to wish everybody a good night.
Y con eso le queremos dar gracias al supervisor y los que presentaron hoy, y les quiero decir que tengan una bonita noche. Gracias.
Thank you.